Everybody, let's start this one off by giving Boots Ennis that movie clap. That clap that start off slow and build up. Y'all better be at home clapping too, man, because yo, Boots deserve it, man. A masterful performance. Nothing less than masterful. I think he showcased everything. Let me put this window up. He showcased everything that you would want a future superstar boxer to show. Or a star boxer. Let's not overreach. He shows you his skill. He shows you the ability to take a punch, the ability to switch up, the ability to switch his styles mid-fight, not just orthodox to southpaw. I'm talking about different types of fight. He gave you different fights, different approaches in that one fight. He showed you some showboating, some flash. He gave everything in that fight, man. He had somebody that was so tough, somebody that was tough enough to make him showcase. He stuck around long enough for Boots to showcase different parts of his game, and I think he did his thing. He put on a show. A lot of people are talking. Some guy, one of these guys that know I'm into boxing, he's not that much into boxing, but he hit me up and said, "Did you watch the fight on Saturday? It's this kid, man, this kid." And that's when you know that you got something. When a casual sees it and they know that it's something special. When someone who isn't that deep into boxing can see you and know that you're special, you're doing the right thing. So shout out to Boots. Based on the title of this, I know you're wondering, like, what is the sad news? But the sad news, man, I'm sorry to say it, man. I'm sorry to break this news to you guys, but we in my opinion, we never gonna see Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford in a ring with Boots Ennis. I just think the timelines just don't add up. The trajectory of Boots doesn't line up with Errol's and Terrence's ages and their struggles to make 147. I think this is it at 147 for Errol. And even if Terrence, we got a better chance of seeing Bud fight Ennis than we do of seeing Errol fight Ennis. I think this is it for for Errol at 147. We'll be lucky, or if you had to hold your breath for an outcome, I would say hold your breath in hopes of seeing Boots in there with Ugas. It's going to take a whole lot of money to see Boots in there with Thurman. At this point in Thurman's career, I don't see him fighting Boots. And I'm not saying he's scared to fight Boots. I just don't think it's a good move for Keith Thurman at this age. Keith got to be, what, like 34, 35? To fight Boots. What's the point? Boots doesn't have any belts. Boots isn't a pay-per-view draw just yet. It makes no sense for Keith Thurman Keith Thurman is looking for a couple of big money fights, or a fight that could put him directly back in line for contention for these belts. And Boots is in that fight. So we might see Boots with the Ugas, but Boots with Spence and Crawford, I'm not even looking at it. People keep trying to dream up this situation or this narrative where they meet at 154. I just think in that case, the ages is what's going to make that impossible to happen. Spence is, 32, 33? I think he goes up to 154, gets some belts, probably fights for another, 5 years, when he's 30, 37, 38, and calls it a day. I think Boots stays at 147, because you saw where he came in after this last fight with Villa. He weighed 145. He was 2 pounds under the weight limit. I think Boots stays at 147 and collects some belts. All the belts that are going to be dropped when Terrence and Errol move up. I think Boots collects those belts. And by the time he finishes that task, because they're going to be like the Infinity Stones scattered all over the place when Undisputed is dropped by either Bud or Spence. I'm hoping it's Spence. I feel like by the time he accomplishes that task, them guys are going to be out of there, man. And even unless he becomes undisputed at 147 and gets a straight shot to go fight the guy who has the WBC belt or whatever belt at 154. That's the only way I see him fighting Errol or Terrence Crawford, man. It's just the ages. I feel like we gotta accept that Boots is just the generation or the regime after Spence and Crawford and the Thurmans and so on. You see Sean Porter's already out of there. Keith Thurman, I think, is hanging around longer than Sean Porter because Keith had a lot of stints of injury where he wasn't, when he was inactive. So I think he could see himself having 2 or 3 more fights due to his inactivity of the past, you know? And I think he still feels like there's money for him to be made, money for him to make. And I think so. I think you could sell Thurman Ugas as a pay-per-view fight, you know? And I think that's what's coming next. So yeah, sadly, I don't think we'll ever see those Boots in the ring with either Bud or Errol, but that shouldn't define his career, man. It shouldn't. I think Boots is going to run 147 for years to come. God spare life and health, barring any crazy injury, anything of that nature. 147 is going to be Boots, his division, moving forward. So I don't see how it happens. I don't see how Boots gets in the ring with Errol Spence. He said something in a what was it? His post-fight press conference. I think he said that hopefully the fight with Errol and Bud is a one-sided fight, and the loser doesn't want to initiate the rematch clause, and then that way he could slip up in there. But I don't see that happening either. I think if the fight is a one-sided fight and the loser doesn't initiate the rematch between Bud and Errol, I think they find a way for Keith Thurman to slip up in there. That's PBC, I mean. They found a way for Keith Thurman to get that fight. I don't see any other 147-pounder. And I think, honestly, Boots isn't signed to... He's signed to Showtime, but he isn't managed by or advised by Al Heyman. So Boots has some hurdles to get over. It's going to be Keith Thurman. If that does happen, that scenario where Bud and Errol is just a one-sided ass whooping, like Errol says, and whoever wins it, they stay at 147, and the loser doesn't choose to initiate his rematch clause. I don't think they just slide Boots in there, because I don't think Boots is a household name to the point yet where that makes this fighter, whether it be Errol or Spence, Errol or Bud, it makes them a whole heap of money. And that's what they own at this point in the career. And I don't even blame them. When Bud fought Abanesian and the reported money was $10 million, I wasn't even mad at Bud. And I was mad. I was disappointed that the Spence fight wasn't happening, but I wasn't even mad at Bud. To be honest with you, I wasn't mad at him because it's $10 million, bro. Man got kids to feed. He got family. He been boxing his whole life. Who gonna convince you not to go get $10 million? That's like being mad at Jamel for going up to fight Canelo instead of fighting Tim Tszyu. When there's a guaranteed bag to go pick up. These guys been putting their life on the line, been tearing their bodies down and building it back up years upon years upon years. You can't, as a fight fan or as a boxing fan, sit here and really judge these guys for going after a bag sometimes, man. And I think we put our wants and needs in terms of what we want to see in a ring over these guys' well-being and over these guys' financial well-being, and that's something I don't appreciate, and something I try to be mindful of when I see certain fights happen. You know what I'm saying? But if there's a big fight to be made that's gonna guarantee you a lot of money, and you take a lesser fight, or you, by all rights, by all means, make noise. But I wasn't mad at Bud when he went and fought Avenesian. Let that man go pick up that bag. Let Jamel go pick that bag up. You understand what I'm saying? But back to my point, what I was saying is I think that's the mindset these guys are on right now. They're into big accomplishments and big fights. And unfortunately, Boots doesn't present that for Errol, Bud, or even Keith Thurman at this point in time. Keith Thurman versus Boots, I don't even know if you could make that a pay-per-view fight. I've seen less worthy fights be made pay-per-view fights. But how many pay-per-views does Thurman and Boots do? I would love to see the fight. I'm just saying I don't know if is a big money maker for Keith Thurman, and I think that's what Keith Thurman's mindset is on right now. Big fights, or fights to put him back into contention, directly back in contention, not in the mix, directly back to the front of the line for a belt at 147. So yeah. In other news, I watched all the press conferences today. I don't know what to think of Anthony Joshua, bro. I honestly don't know what Anthony Joshua's mindset is. Because today in the press conference with him and Dillian White, he was it a press conference or was it like the interview after the press conference? Pretty much he was saying that he's in a mindset of learning all aspects of the game. He isn't so much so interested in knocking somebody out in 1 round or 4 rounds anymore. He wants to learn all angles of the sweet science and display it. When he trains, he's training to learn every aspect of boxing, and he wants to display that in his fights. Which sounds like a roundabout way to me of saying that the knockout isn't your main intention anymore. The knockout isn't what you go into fights looking for. I think he goes into fights now to win fights. I don't think he's going to fights to lose them, but I think he's going into fights now. His mindset is to win fights while putting himself at the least possible amount of risk that he can, which should be every fighter's mindset. But I think he feels like whenever he steps on the gas to knock a fighter out, he automatically puts himself in risk, in harm's way. And I don't think Anthony Joshua as a fighter, as a man, is interested in that anymore. Because losing, when you lose, it especially when you get knocked out, it reminds you that you are a human being. I feel like these guys, when they're going on these knockout streaks, undefeated streaks, you start to feel like more than just a man. You understand what I'm saying? And when you get knocked out, it brings you back to reality. It literally brings you back down to reality. And the killer instinct, or that dog, I don't want to say like he's not a dog anymore, because he still is, but you become a little bit more coherent and mindful of the risks that are out there in that ring when you step into that square circle. So I think Anthony Joshua, I don't think it's going to be anything like the first White Joshua fight, where it was like real reckless and real gritty. Anthony Joshua got hurt, then he came back and he knocked out Dillian White with that beautiful uppercut after hurting him and stalking him around the ring. It's not going to be like that. I think we're going to get another Franklin performance from Anthony Joshua. And I think he could beat Dillian White with that type of performance. I just don't think we see the Anthony Joshua that's stepping on the gas ever again. He wants to be able to just... I think losing to Usyk that many times, well, twice, I think Anthony Joshua would like to become a Usyk kind of fighter. He wants to be the type of fighter that could just outbox, counterpunch, move, stay away from the snake pit and win a fight. I think that's what he wants to become now. But I think he's too big for that. I don't think that's who he is naturally. I think he knows who he is naturally, but he wants to develop his other sides of his game, and I'm not mad about it. He's, like you said, he wants to have more than just a bazooka in his bag. He wants to have other tools and grenades and all that in his bag when it comes time to go to war. And I understand that, but it's when you start to rely on all these new tools and disregard what got you to the dance, you really become a different person. And Anthony Joshua in the ring doesn't look like the Anthony Joshua of old in the ring. I think we could all be honest about that. I wish him the best, because I always liked Anthony Joshua because I felt like he was a stand-up guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, when he started losing, he started to display some emotion in the ring and do some things that's not part of the game. Even in the Franklin fight, when he tried to go after Franklin after the fight was done for. But he seems like he's a good guy. I like the way he presents himself, the way he speaks. Even when he lost to Ruiz, I felt like he addressed it correctly and he owned it, you know? So I wish him the best. And of course, he's with Derek James now, who probably my favorite trainer right now in the game. So I hope that Derrick James' knowledge and his strategies gives Anthony Joshua some type of confidence to be who he once was, you know? Be a little bit more aggressive than he was in that Franklin fight, or a lot bit more aggressive than he was in that Jermaine Franklin fight. But yeah, man, Usyk is gonna wash Dubois. I can't see a way that Dubois keeps up with Usyk. Impossible to me. I can't see it happening, but I'm gonna be watching nonetheless. So yeah, man, that's the episode for today. Let me know if you agree with Boots being able to fight, having a chance to fight Bud or Errol Spence in this world, not in a metaverse fight like Roy Jones in a real boxing match. If that happens, and let me know what you think about Anthony Joshua and his mindset going forward as a heavyweight contender, and hopefully a heavyweight champion once again at some point. Checking out, man. Blessings.